Hey, this is Sarah Liz, and welcome back to my channel. I have a couple of updates for you today, and I also have a couple of spoilers, but we'll get to those later. And I'm sitting out here on my front porch of the fixer-upper home that I live in that doesn't need any further decoration to get ready for Halloween. But it is a beautiful fall day, and so just so you know, school buses will probably be coming by in a little while, and they're very loud. Anyway, back to the update. So as I am developing the channel and working on it and thinking about business plans and who are my people and all of these fantastic questions, I'm really starting to refine the theme of the channel. Finally, I've been doing it for several months now, and excuse me. And the theme of the channel is essentially the same theme as my own personal website, sareliz.com, SARELIZ.com. And that is inspiration one day at a time. And this is definitely for the spiritual but not religious crowd. Though, of course, the religious crowd may find some good stuff here. But really, my people are the spiritual but not religious. So that's where all of the content is gearing, and I'm really enjoying how things are developing here. And to that end, you may have noticed that there's a new playlist and a new little mini series going on. Once a week, I have started updating a food for thought video. The whole idea behind food for thought is that it kind of fills in a gap in the spectrum of what I'm offering. Because on the totally light end, we've got the Way of Love meditations, which are like a minute long, sometimes a smidgen more, sometimes a smidgen less. And they're just little pieces of poetic insight on a theme to help you get your day started the right way, or alternately to finish your day on a bright note. So those are really just dipping the toes into the water. It's literally a minute of inspiration. And then going a little bit deeper, you get the guided meditations. Now, if you've ever thought to yourself, gosh, meditation seems like a good idea, but I can't actually sit still for that long, and I can't be totally silent for that long, and if I try, I fall asleep. We don't want that. So the guided meditations are there so that you can concentrate on someone's voice, mine, and follow what they're saying, but still get to a deeper meditative place. And that's a wonderful way to kind of get in the pool up to about your knees, but you're still not having to guide a meditation on your own, and you're not having to do a whole lot of introspection. And so on the spectrum of, services I offer, we've got dipping the toes in and getting up to the knees, and then we've got plunging into the deep end, like through fiery hoops. And that is the spiritual direction that I offer. Now, spiritual direction is a little like therapy, but it's not therapy. And it's a little bit like having a really hip priest on speed dial, but it's not quite that because I'm not that hip. But it also, for the people who want to do it, will cost money, which none of the rest of these do either. But it's super introspective. It really digs down deep, and it's for the people who really want to jump in the deep end of self-improvement. And then there's this gap between knee-high in the pool and jumping in the deep end through some fiery hoops. So the new little mini-series, Food for Thought, is something that will fill in that gap. It's introspective, and though they're short videos, they give you something that you need to think on and chew on and possibly write about, which is great for you people who have journals or like to write things out and process that way, or God bless you if you can keep a bullet journal. I envy you. Anyway, so it's literally food for thought. And I'm really excited about it. And so that's super cool. And then the next update, there's so many updates, is that I have started my Patreon page. Many of you know Patreon, Patreon.com. Patreon is a vehicle where creative types, like yours truly, can be supported by the people who love and consume their creativity. And so my lowest tier starts at $1. If you have $1 and a dream, you get access to all of the lovely things that I offer my patrons on Patreon. So one of the things for people who are fans of Loki of Midgard that I do every single month, and there's already 2 of them up there, is I will post something that no one has seen before. The first one is the brand new, never seen before outside of my betas, prologue to the final copy of Loki of Midgard. Now, online on ao3.org, you can find the rough draft of Loki of Midgard. It's about 90,000 words. The final copy is about 120,000 words. So I've added 30,000 words. And some of those words are in the prologue. Anyway, super awesome. And my patrons have exclusive access to it until it actually gets published. At which point I'll be shouting it from the rooftops, so you will find out here. And then the second teaser that I posted is something that I'm not sure is ever actually going to be in the rough copy of the Meddler, but that's where in the timeline it would fit in. And it is an introduction to a character you haven't met in the rough drafts, but as I demarvelize things and deepen the characters and deepen their characterizations, and also, I took a really good look at the Avengers series, and this isn't a criticism, but I just noticed it's incredibly white. And despite the fact that I appear very white, I am not in fact completely Caucasian. I'm Latina. Hi. So I only married a Polish man. Whatever. So the cast of characters is going to get multicultural. And it's going to get a little more international. And all kinds of interesting things are going to happen. And not everyone is going to be straight and white. There's going to be a bunch of queer characters because queer is life. So I'm really excited about that. The point of me telling you all of this is that we get to have a fascinating little look at one of the characters who comes out of that kind of rich development, and it is Darcy's grandmother. And so she is a character who has just captivated my heart. She's not perfect, she's full of foibles, but I just adore her. And so we get to see a little bit of some fabulousness from her point of view. And if you don't imagine that this will end up like the little stone that rolls down the mountainside will end up being a gigantic rock slide at the bottom that will end up in World Weekly News in the Meddler, if you imagine that doesn't happen, you're wrong. So this is the beginning, the first little stone rolling down the mountain. So I'm really excited about that. And you can go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Sareliz, Sareliz. And you can check out the different tiers that I have. There's some other options too if you want to give more than $1. You get major kudos. And you might also get naming rights in the books when they get published. So I'll be doing the first drawing of the hat. For the $5 tier, you get your name in the hat to see if you can get a character named after you, or someone that you love. And I'm going to do the first one of that just before the new year. And if you want to support me at a higher level, you just get naming rights. But if one of my good friends does in fact pony up, she might get naming rights for the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. who gets blown up because she wanted someone who has something dreadful happen to them. I'm like, I can help you there. So I'm going to be posting the next chapter to the rough draft of the Midler, Book 3, Loki of Midgard, over on AO3 this Saturday afternoon after I come back from a work convention. And I'm really excited that I'm finally ready to update that chapter. And to that end, I have some questions to answer. So, spoiler alert! Here we go. So, from Always the Same, these are her questions. Why isn't Darcy a U.S. citizen anymore? You don't automatically lose citizenship if you marry a foreign national, even a ruling one, and extraplanetary affairs haven't been ruled against yet. This is very true. This is something that I've gone back and forth and debated and wondered and researched, and you're absolutely right. She doesn't need to give up her American citizenship. Totally. For her, it's a matter of integrity. Now, when I say that, I mean for her. And someone else in the same situation, their integrity might speak to them in a different manner. So we have to suspend what we would do in the situation and imagine instead what Darcy would do in the situation. And what I believe Darcy would do in this situation is that she is not just she's not just participating in another nation or even another culture that is different from her own. She's not just becoming royalty, she's actually joining the succession. So if enough people die or are incapacitated, get ready for it, Darcy will be ruling Asgard. And in her mind, she cannot, in all good conscience, be the actual head of a nation and at the same time participate in the government of another nation, which is what happens when you vote and when you're a citizen. Now, I do recognize that not everyone would make this choice the same way that she has, but this is how she looks at the world. And it doesn't matter the fact that she really hopes no one will ever make her queen. And she really hopes that everyone will stay healthy and hale for her entire life and she won't have to deal with any of this at all. Because she does hope that. But she also hopes to help shape policy and governance in Asgard. And she hopes to shape policy and governance and diplomacy in the embassy. And she feels like, though her heritage is American, she cannot have a foot in both worlds, politically speaking. If she's going to represent Asgard with Loki, she needs to represent Asgard with Loki. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Next question. Can someone master the ninth gate without mastering the previous ones? Well, it's never happened before. And that is as far, I think, as any mistress of the ninth gate would go. Mistresses up to the eighth gate would say, oh, no. But they wouldn't really know, would they? I do think that once you've mastered the ninth gate, I think that if you do manage to master the ninth gate before you master any of the other gates, then that would make a certain very specific set of circumstances true. And one of those circumstances would be that you were relatively new to the moral progress, i.e. you were a young person, who in their previous life, because that's part of all of this crazy, in their previous life, they had mastered gates 1 through 8. And so that mastery was unconsciously there, even though they hadn't done it in this lifetime. So that's one circumstance that I think would have to be true. Another circumstance that I think would need to be true, though not being a mistress of the ninth gate, I can only speculate on these things, is as soon as the ninth gate was well and truly mastered, that particular person would discover that they had also incidentally mastered the other 8 in an instantaneous fashion. I say again, this has never happened. Next question. Jane wondering about Thor perhaps never coming back to Earth. Is this because he'll be deemed worthy or something? That's her fear. And since she hasn't really figured out entirely how she feels, she's got no resolution on any of that whatsoever. And she does not yet understand how much being around ambient electricity means to Thor. She is worried that this beautiful what if, she's just never going to see him again. Now, I can hear some questions along the lines of, but she already found her crown, so what's the problem? She has conveniently forgotten about that for most of the time and most of the days, because she doesn't want to remember it, and she doesn't want to know, and she doesn't want to live her life assuming that that's going to happen. And so she's just in kind of an angsty place right now. And whether or not he will be deemed worthy, I couldn't possibly comment. Okie dokie. Next question. She says, a lot happened off screen. Where is Thor during the trial? Is he guarding the Tesseract? Did he put it away and come back to Earth? Did anyone tell Jane he left? We're going to see this a little bit later on. You're going to see it soon. Where we have a scene with Thor interacting with the Tesseract on Asgard. And you're going to hear a lot from his perspective. And I think you'll enjoy it. And this is not the final question from her. Always the same also asks, how does anyone know that Asgardian years are around 5 times longer than Earth years if they don't know how long the day is? Oh, preach it, sister. Is it exactly 5 years? That seems unlikely. If it's off by even a little, like if an Asgardian year is 1,800 days and 5 Earth years is 1,825 days, the difference over 500 Asgardian years would be around 35 Earth years. This is why Jane gets frustrated with Loki. This is exactly why Jane gets frustrated with Loki. So what we haven't seen yet, and we're not going to see it until Natasha and Darcy have a chance to come back to Earth and do some video editing, is that off screen they were taking a lot of video. This was briefly, obliquely mentioned in passing. But they're going to make some YouTube documentaries, and it's going to be a little meta, but pretty awesome. And one of them is going to be about time. Now, I have all of these already written, and so there's going to be a lot that gets explained in retrospect, but it's going to be a little while before Jane and the rest of the Institute have an exact or a more exact sense of the situation on Asgard as regards to weather, time, length of day. There's a lot you can do with physics and the sun, and so they're going to do some of that. And when Jane was, this was also mentioned at the trial, or before the trial, when Jane was on Asgard for a couple of hours, she used those hours very wisely. But Darcy is also doing some of her own stuff for her own reasons, and she's going to share her findings with Jane. So we'll see the product of that a little bit later on. Final question from Always the Same. Does Bucky remember Steve? Does he know he is alive? We're going to find out more about this. Not a whole lot more, but some. In, I think, 2 or 3 chapters from now, there's a really long sequence that's going to be from Bucky's point of view. And to answer your questions, yes. No. Tia Trix has a question. Have I missed something? how much need is there for the whole glamping thing now that they have the Tesseract? Aren't they just bringing it straight to Mistress Oidis? I thought the whole extended trip idea was because they'd assume they'd have to go and fetch it first. Okay, so the glamping is not about fetching it, because glamping over the ocean would be strange. The glamping is because there's a number of ways to facilitate long distance travel on Asgard. Loki uses some of those on Midgard, and we see that. But there are other ways that we haven't really touched on that are just the standard ways you get around the planet. And the problem is the Tesseract is really, really pissy right now. And I suspect that when Thor and Loki were originally transporting it to Earth, it had not been pissed off in a while, and so they had an opportunity to kind of move it with ease and use magic, etc., etc., without really deeply upsetting it and possibly putting the whole planet in jeopardy. They do not have that opportunity now, and so they must go slowly and gently. And, you know, I do this world building thing. And so Marvel gives us this much about the Tesseract and makes it glow blue. And I take away a few things that I don't particularly like, and then I add this much about the Tesseract. So I've added elements and qualities to it, and a background and a history to it, and a potential future to it, that Marvel has not accounted for. And that's just fine, because that's what I do. Also, question concerning Odin. He doesn't have mastery over the ninth gate and hasn't even broken it, right? So true. I'm trying to remember. I have to look at my notes. I believe that Odin has a firm mastery over the second gate. The third gate is really hard for warriors to master. And the fourth gate is sort of the mastery, the full mastery over kind of self-awareness. And so every time he wakes up from an extended sleep, he wakes up having broken multiple gates. And in Loki's awareness, he's the only person who ever does this, breaks multiple gates at a time. But that, of course, was before Loki met Darcy, and she's broken one gate, she's about to break a bunch of other gates before she actually masters anything. And Odin is probably going to do them in order, unlike Loki. And yeah, he's only the master of the second gate. Riddle me that, Batman. He's got some work to do. Winnie would like to know, has Steve thawed yet? Yes. What is it going to mean for our dynamic duo? I believe she means Steve and Bucky. If Bucky is off under service. They are still going to meet. It is still going to be awkward. They probably won't have that moment where one is trying to kill the other, but I couldn't promise you that. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? And eventually, they'll get over all of their stuff. Eventually. Winnie would also like to know about the reference concerning Thor's hammer. Myth had it that it was made in the forges of the dwarves. Marvel moved those forges to a dying star, and now it's one of Oidis's millstones? Winnie is confuzzled. Okay, so here is another opportunity where I've taken some of the original myths that we have, and then I've taken what Marvel has done with it, and I thought, I've got an idea. How about this? So as you follow along and things begin to unfold in the story, you discover that the myths are largely true without being entirely true. And Marvel has done some reasonably predictable things with them. And I am going reasonably predictable in a different direction. So good for you. You notice the difference. Yeah. Universal Katie would like to know, what is Rassestein? Is this a literary reference? Is this a typo? Google searches reveal nothing. It is not a literary reference. It is not a typo. I'm not surprised that Google was not enlightening. So, thinking about how Tolkien distilled some cultural nuances from a variety of different Earth cultures, one of the things that Tolkien would do is he would give a character or an item several different names, because over the course of their lifetime or several eons, they acquire nicknames, they acquire titles, they have a long convoluted history, and you can refer to Aragorn by like 6 different ways depending on how you know him and who you are and what your history is. So the Tesseract is a scientific concept. It's not actually a blue glowing cube. It's a scientific concept to describe something that is like a cube, but in more dimensions than 3. And so without going too much farther into that, a tesseract is like the word cube. And so it would be like saying, it's the cube, it's the cube, it's the cube, it's the cube. Could we move on from cube? And so I am moving on from tesseract. So Rassestein, if you take the 2 components of the words and translate them, roughly from the Germanic, it is rage stone, which, if you've been paying attention, is an adequate nickname for this angry little sentient rock that wants to kill everybody. And really, it's not a huge surprise that Thanos wants to add it to his collection. So, Rassestein is the rage stone. And that is Odin's particular nickname for this little rock of doom. And those are all the questions that I was submitted. So if you have questions, if you'd like to know particular things, you can leave me a question in the comments below this video, or you can just go over on Saturday afternoon and read that fabulous update. I say it's fabulous. I've read it several times. It's pretty awesome. My husband loves it. And you can leave a comment on the chapter, and if you include a question, I will answer it here. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Hit the bell if you want to hear about updates. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.